Well, I'm finishing a chapter. It's a book about the sublime, which is, I had a stroke and I had a near-death experience. I came very close to dying. Somebody basically saved my life. My wife did. I maintain that kind of experience changes how you look at life. The things that you took for granted, you no longer take for granted. And so when I look at the world, when I'm being alive, just being alive as I am right now, it's actually a very strange feeling to be alive because I came very close to death. And it made me realize that despite all the horrible things that are going on in the world, it's actually incredibly insane that we humans are at this moment in history, that in the course of 30,000 years, we went from being, whatever we were, to having all this incredible power. We are these insane animals. This consciousness that we have is this unbelievable gift. We have these brains that are by far the most complex organisms in the universe. Scientists have demonstrated that. But we're not aware of any of these things. We take it all for granted. And it's a book that's trying to open your eyes up to all of the sublime aspects of just being alive, of the history of the cosmos, of ancient history, of what it was like when we were children, of how our brains are formed, about our relationship with animals who have consciousness that we can interact with other species, with love and how sublime love can be, with history, with death itself. And so it's a book that's kind of making me feel better about all of my limitations, but I want the readers to go away and think differently about what it means to be alive, to transform them. And so the chapter that I'm writing now, that I'm going into just now, is about willpower and energy, and how we have capabilities that we don't even tap into, that we're only using a small part of our brain, that we're only using a tenth of the energy that we actually have, right? It's our minds that are holding us back, and that we're gifted with these powers that are not being used. And I have examples of humans who've been in situations that are incredibly stressful, incredibly difficult, and they overcame them. They were able to tap into those powers because they were facing death, essentially. They were facing something very terrible, and a kind of courage came to them. So there's like a story of a plane crash in the Andes, and in the worst part of the Andes, and in the mountains in the middle of winter. And these boys who were on a rugby team, they somehow managed, in the course of 3 months, to save their lives. More than half of them died. But how they did it, the guy who narrates the story, is so incredible that anybody afterwards, when people said, it's absolutely impossible what you did. You climbed these 18,000-foot mountains that even mountain climbers can't climb, and you did it without any equipment. He called it a miracle. And so we have these powers that we're not even aware of, and circumstances will force them upon us. So if you're facing stress, if you're facing difficulty, you will feel this other energy that flows through you, that's very human, that's very powerful. So that's what I'm writing about now, and that's what I'm kind of fascinated about. Before I had my stroke, I wrote 7 books. And I would get those moments, and what I would do was I had to get out of my mind, and I would go take a hike up into the park, and all these great ideas would come to me. Or I would go for a long swim because I was into long distance swimming, and then I'd come out of the pool, and wow, my mind was just sparkling with ideas. I can't do any of it now. I can't hike, I can't swim, I can't do the things that got me out of my mind and my body. And I'm writing a book that has to be exciting, that has to excite the reader every single page, every word. I can't write a dull book about the sublime. So what I do is I have to work on my head. And so I'm sitting there writing this thing, and it's not coming out right. I have to step back, and I have to put myself in the mood, and I have to go, This is an incredible privilege you have, Robert, to write this book. Let's get into the spirit of it. Let's feel what you're trying to write. Let's not be intellectual. Let's not write something. Let's feel it first and then write it. I have to go through a process. I have to listen to some music. I have to look at my cat who's walking by. I have to talk to just look at my wife or see something. And then I feel it and then I can write it. But it is difficult because all of those things that I depended on before, I don't have. So just like I said, when life turns against you, you have to adapt, you have to learn. It brings the best out of you sometimes because we're in a rut. Things are so familiar, we don't work on ourselves. Yeah. But when things turn bad, like they turned bad for me, you have to change, you have to adapt, you have to become a different person. And it makes you grow and it makes you learn, which is what I've had to do. I have to force myself to be inspired, literally. The sublime is a concept that I've kind of created. But there are books, my way of thinking about it, there are books that are out there about the concept, but they're so dry, they're so intellectual, they're so like academic speak, all this jargon, that they're so unsublime. I want this book for people to read it and really feel it and feel like there's an experience out there that they can have. And I'll tell you one thing, Cody. When I first thought of writing the book, which was 16, 17 years ago, before I had my near-death experience, I was going to go across the Gobi Desert. I was going to go to Tierra del Fuego in Antarctica. I was going to see all the sublime parts of the planet. I was going to swim with dolphins, and I was going to experience this all and write about it. And here I am when I finally get the chance to write the book. I can't do any of those things. But the book will be better for that. That's what life is about. I call it amor fati. The things that happen to you are the best things that could ever happen to you. So having my stroke made the book better because I can't do those things, but 99% of my readers won't be able to do them. I'm showing you how you can look at life sitting in your office, sitting in your chair, having your breakfast, and you can have these experiences in your day-to-day life. You don't have to do things that are extraordinary because life is extraordinary. What do I need to do today? It's on my schedule. So like I'm meditating in the morning and I'm trying to empty my mind and I'm going into what's known as a koan, right? And then these thoughts keep bubbling up and they're so annoying and it makes you aware of of the machinery of your own mind. And so to answer your question, it's always like, oh, did you remember that you have to call this person this afternoon? Did you remember that you have to change that reservation? Do you remember that you have to do this, that, the other? Scheduling things. So unimportant, so trivial, where I'm trying to open my mind up to something vast and important. It's little things like scheduling and stuff like that. Then there'll be other thoughts that will be repeating, like if I saw a movie from it, images will keep popping up from that and such. It makes you aware that you're not in control of your own mind, right? Mm. Wow, it's not easy and it's an ongoing process. And I could say I'm maybe 10% of the way where I'd like to be. But first of all, you recognize, you go through a thing where a thought pops up and it's like, why am I thinking about that? I don't like it. You realize that it's just a thought. And what is a thought? Now, I know we're getting really weird and metaphysical here.
I like it.
But it's not real. It's a phantom, right? It has no reality. Reality is your body, the present moment, the birds outside, the sky, where you are sitting, the fact that you're alive, that your blood is pumping. These are real. But that thought in your mind is a shadow. It's a phantom. It doesn't exist. It has no reality. And so I go through this process where don't engage with it. And it's really weird because then my mind plays tricks on me and it pulls up a thought that's definitely going to engage me, right? Because it wants that. It's like a sugar rush. And so I go, okay, no, I'm not going to engage with it. And it made me realize as I went through that process that this is what social media is based on. Social media has mirrored the human brain on a large scale. We have thoughts that are designed to grab our emotions and make us think about them repetitively over and over again, compulsively, right? And there's probably a purpose behind that. But social media is actually a genius at that, at putting up things up there. They're going to engage our emotions, so we have to pay attention. So I always try and, every time that happens, I withdraw and I say, it's just a thought. It's not real. It's not who I am. This is a very important part of meditation. Your thoughts are not who you are. They're a separate part of yourself. You are something different from your own thoughts. I don't know if that means anything to you. The reality is, we don't I don't want to get too deep into this, but we don't really have a self. The self is a construction of our minds. There actually is nothing there. And that kind of emptiness, that egolessness, is enlightenment. It's a beautiful feeling. And maybe in your life you've touched upon it briefly. I know I've touched upon it briefly. It's not the reality I have every day. But that's real. And what's not real are the thoughts, but everything is turned upside down in our worlds. And so these delusionary thoughts about people, about who I am, about my habits, etc., they become our reality when it's exactly the opposite, right? You have to be able to be aware of that. And so, meditation is all about becoming aware of these things, because we walk around like automatons. I'm very into this writer named Gurdjieff. I don't know if you've ever heard of Gurdjieff.
No, I haven't.
He was he's basically from Armenia. He was in the beginning of the 20th century. He was this man who was very interested in mysticism, and he traveled throughout Asia trying to find the essence of all the different esoteric philosophies, and he created his own philosophy. And it's very interesting, very exciting stuff. He wrote a book called In Search of the Miraculous that I highly recommend people. And it's not woo-woo stuff. He was a very, very practical man. He puts it in very practical terms. But his idea is that we walk around asleep. We're on automatic pilot constantly. We're not really aware that we're breathing, that we're existing. We're not aware where our thoughts come from. We're not aware of how our body moves, etc., etc., etc. And so it's a process of slowly becoming aware of these kinds of things that is really I've been doing this 14, 15 years now, and it's really, really kind of changed the course of my life, I have to say. What is it that makes you an individual, makes you unique, that you alone are meant to accomplish in life? Well, it's not given. We don't know it. And a lot of people really, really struggle with trying to figure that out, right? Because they've been programmed by their parents, by their siblings, by the culture, by their teachers to say, this is who you are, this is what you should believe in, this is what you were meant to accomplish in life, this is what's cool and what's not cool, okay? And so you have to question yourself. You have to say, is this really who I am? Am I really interested in this subject? Am I really interested in this kind of person, in getting in a relationship with this kind of person? And so question yourself on that level. You're getting at a deeper and deeper core of maybe who you are at essence. You're cutting away all of the social stuff that has been foisted upon you, that it has nothing to do with you, right? So in some ways, you're kind of a mystery to yourself, and you're sort of trying to solve that puzzle. And you have to ask these questions. Is this something I'm actually really interested in? Is this an intrinsically important thing to me? Or is it something that's in the culture, or something that other people have told me? And questioning that over and over and over again is not to lead you into this abyss where there's nothing real. It's to get you closer to who you are, to what really matters, to what that essence of you is, to what you were meant to accomplish in life. And once you reach that inner kind of gold, then you have a degree of certainty. Mm-hmm. So I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a writer, right? I had a struggle to figure out what kind of writing I wanted. But knowing that that's who I am, probably about the age of 8, it allowed me to go, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to do that. This isn't important. Why am I following this career path? Why am I wasting my time here? And then, so knowing that kind of core You don't have to keep questioning yourself. So I'm never going to question myself. Why are you a writer? Why are you writing books? You should have been a pop star. You should have been a rock singer. You should have written poetry. You should have been a lawyer. No, I'll never go there because I have that firm ground beneath me. And that's what your questioning is supposed to lead to. Get to the essence of who you are. And once you're there, you have a degree of certainty in your life.